In the finale episode of Adventure Time, we see that Finn the human eventually does in some way and somehow die. And we see this through the special intro for the episode, in which showcases the land of Ooo 1000 years in the future, where we see, of course, Ooo has drastically changed in many ways, but that there also was stone statues made of Finn, as well as presumably Jake, but could be his brother Jermaine, probably in order to honor and commemorate them for their heroism after their deaths. But of course, this left the question of how exactly did Finn actually die? And while there seemingly now is a real and strongly supported answer to that question, there is also two other theories to discuss. One of the theories being, of course, the classic and yet just actually idiotic theory that people have to make the insane plots of cartoons make sense realistically, none other than the coma theory. The coma theory follows Finn being just a normal boy in a normal world, but then of course falling into a coma through either an illness or cancer, and then just kind of dreams up all of the events of Adventure Time, with Jake representing his beloved dog, the trauma that Finn experiences with his father being remnants of his memories of being abused or them leaving, the Candy Kingdom and its citizens representing his anxieties, and the human civilization representing and hinting to the fact that there was a real world that he's left behind. People made this theory based off of episodes like Astral Plane and Is That You, believing that the events of those episodes are more or less manifestations of Finn's subconscious trying to cope with the reality that he is now in. Once again, just a very dumb theory, but for the sake of this video, I figured I would cover it nonetheless. But anyways, an actual good theory for how Finn may have actually met his demise is that he went out saving someone and or died attempting to. This has been assumed to be the case by a lot of people just based off of who Finn is, as well as from what he says whilst he's almost devoured by Golb in the finale, saying that he always thought that he would go out saving somebody, kind of just showing that if he was to die, that's how he would want to. But this actually gets shown to be a possibility even more so in the beginning of the Adventure Time Distant Lands episode, Together Again, where before we get into the actual plot of Finn being dead and reuniting with Jake, we see Finn have a hallucination in which he has to make a choice to either save Turtle Princess or Lumpy Space Princess. And Finn, of course, chooses to save both of them and manages to save Turtle Princess, but whilst attempting to save LSP, Ice King breaks the rope and she falls, but LSP of course can fly, so of course she's fine. But as Jake congratulates Finn for saving everybody, he starts crying, not understanding why. This could be just because his subconscious knew that in the real world that all of his friends, including Jake, were dead, but at least at the time seemed like it may have been hinting toward him knowing deep down that he was dead and that he may have ended up that way through, as we just saw, saving someone and or not being able to. This was at least my theory for a while for how Finn may have died, but the actual true way has more or less been revealed in season 2 episode 6 of Fiona and Cake, as in which Finn is dying from being attacked by a green witch who shapeshifted into a bear in the first season, and now in season 2, whilst Fiona, Cake, and Huntress Wizard are on a mission to save him, none other than the Cosmic Owl appears and tells Huntress Wizard that he was here to give Finn his croak dream. Huntress Wizard and the others hearing this then hunt him down, as they were of course not gonna let him be the cause of Finn's death, but through this we got an entire episode of Finn dying in various different ways whilst continuously responding as they attempted to save him. But through this we saw that literally every enemy that attacked him is a clock, which says a lot itself, but the place they're in and the background is also full of clocks. Clearly there was an attempt to showcase and resemble time, and that in this case Finn was running out of it. But anyways, they end up killing the Cosmic Owl, and then by the end of the series Finn is of course saved. So now the only real guess for how Finn may have actually died is through old age, or at least that's how it seems. But maybe he won't die through old age, and maybe the entire croak dream he had and its significance holds no relevance anymore. It's definitely possible, but I truly believe that this is the most likely and plausible way that Finn does die in the future, as also during the episode Puhoi, where Finn finds himself in a Pella world and lives an entire life before eventually dying in it, of course also dies through the means of simply old age. Throughout almost all of Adventure Time, it was hinted at that Jake the dog would eventually die at some point in the series, and of course he eventually does die, as we saw in the intro of the finale, with us seeing a stone statue made of him residing right next next to a statue of Finn, and it was then confirmed and shown to be the case even more so in Adventure Time Distant Lands, with us seeing Finn with a Jake tattoo on his chest in obsidian, as well as through the entire plot of Together Again being about Finn reuniting with Jake in the Dead Worlds after he dies. And of course, with all of this left the question of how exactly did Jake die? And well, in Adventure Time there is an episode titled The New Frontier, in which Jake has a dream where he and a banana man go into space together, where he then meets his demise via suffocating. But what made this dream actually important was the fact that the cosmic owl who makes what happens in dreams actually happen in real life was there. And the episode then plays out with this exact scenario happening, a banana man coming to Ooo, building a rocket, and Jake trying to get on it to fulfill what he now believes is his destiny. But as the rocket wasn't ready, they blow a hole into the ground and fall into a cave, where Jake does almost drown, but of course since Finn was there, Jake is saved. But then during the episode The Comet, Finn and Jake get stranded from each other in space whilst fighting Orgalord, and Finn gets scared thinking that Jake was now going to fulfill his croak dream, but then later finds him in Banana Man's ship, safe. My only guess is that once again the only reason that Jake didn't have his croak dream here was because Finn was also here with them. I truly believe that if Finn wasn't, that Jake would have actually died here. But nonetheless, it of course remained as kind of the main, real, and strongly supported theory for how Jake would die. But in Fiona and Cake Season 2, as Fiona is looking through Finn's memories in the undergrowth, she actually sees what appears to be the exact moment of Jake's death, as we see an adult Finn scream Jake's name, crying in pure horror, as if he had just seen Jake die directly in front of him. And so with this, now it appears that Jake may have actually died whilst on an adventure with Finn, and possibly through saving him from an enemy that they were fighting. And just based off of Finn's appearance here, I would assume that it was either during the same time period, or possibly even during the adventure they go on that we saw Prisma watching in Season 1, where we see Finn and Jake on this dungeon island in the sky evading arrows, with Jake looking rather tired protecting this egg, before they then fight who they call King Cockatrice, who they easily defeat, but then a bunch more of Cockatrice on Cockatripes appear, and it sounds like they defeat them, so maybe this isn't the adventure they die on, but you never really know, as more Cockatrice or an entirely different enemy overall could have appeared directly after this. But anyways, the last theory for how Jake meets his demise isn't really canon, but is still a pretty cool and interesting theory, which is actually one made by Steve Wolfhard, who worked on most of Adventure Time. The theory being Jake dying from old age, but then as all of the citizens of Ooo that are still alive attend his funeral, Jake's body starts stretching and breaks through the Candy Kingdom castle, and seeing this, Princess Bubblegum takes matters into her own hands and picks Jake up with her helicopter, and then actually uses his body to fill the massive crater in the earth that the Catalyst Comet created. And then eventually trees begin to grow over his body, thus actually bringing the world of Adventure Time back to its former state. Actually such an interesting concept, but once again is very unlikely to actually be how Jake really died. But regardless, let me know what you thought about this theory and the others that I discussed in this video, as well as how you think Jake may have actually died in the comments below. But nonetheless, with that said, that's going to be the end of the video, so consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see y'all in the next video whenever that is.